Welcome back as we count down my favorite top 10 haunted filming locations around Los Angeles, places that are famous for being haunted and places that are famous because they are used frequently and glorifyingly as a filming location. And boy, is there any place better than Hollywood Forever Cemetery for both of those? Well, apparently there's two better because I've got Hollywood Forever Cemetery coming in at number 3. The cemetery opened in 1899, predating film itself, and has been a staple of Hollywood ever since. Before we really dive in, I want to mention the Table Read My Screenplay contest. It's something I'm just so happy I get to be involved with year in, year out, multiple times a year. The next one is going to happen in November, where we take an award-winning screenplay and stage it at the American film market. So a place full of people looking to acquire properties. I'll get into more details at the very end, but do hang out to see if you are if you're a writer, you should be interested in this. And the next one that we're currently taking submissions for is going to take place at the Cannes Film Festival for the second year. We did it last year, this past year as well. So now let's talk about Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Yeah, this is, I think, one of the first haunted places I ever went when I was living in Los Angeles, when I was going to school still. I was living in an apartment in Sherman Oaks while attending classes and being an intern and working at different production companies. And I thought, well, I got to get back to my roots, which is telling ghost stories. So let's go somewhere haunted. And it didn't take very much research to find out that, I just need to go down the street more or less into Hollywood to check out the cemetery. So I'm going to kick it out to myself from last December on location, telling some of the ghost stories of Hollywood Forever Cemetery. But then we'll come right back and we will talk about the filming history. For a show that talks about filming locations at haunted locations, I can't believe we haven't yet come to Hollywood Forever Cemetery, which is where we're walking in right now. Hollywood Forever Cemetery is a gorgeous museum of the past, the history of Hollywood, and those who brought so many films and TV shows to life in front of and behind the camera. And also, it's the only cemetery in Los Angeles that allows filming. So if you happen to see a movie or a TV show that has a cemetery scene, chances are it's at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Now, not too far away, up towards Pasadena, in the town of Altadena, there's Mountain View Mausoleum, which will definitely be the subject of a future video. But they do a lot of filming there as well. But for the most part, Hollywood Forever Cemetery is it's in Hollywood. It's in the heart of it all. So in addition to having a whole bunch of different shows and movies to talk about, there are so many famous people buried here. We're not going to be able to get into them all today, both the productions and the people and the ghost stories. But we will talk about, I'm seeing something very bizarre I've never seen before. Let's take a look at this. A little direction guide here. Haunted Mansion that away. I don't know what that is or who is buried here, but they've got a great sense of humor. Actually, here we go. This oak is haunted by Megan Alexandra Christian White, Collier Lang White. RIP to them. Actually, Collier, I think, is still with us. Megan is not, but they are cool people, quite clearly. I usually don't put graves in my videos or on social media or anything unless they are of famous people. But I think they deserve a shout out, and hopefully they're okay with it. If not, let me know. It really is just amazing. I'm on the island here in the center of the cemetery, which I think the first time I was ever in town, back when I was still in college, I came out here, but that's, I think, the last time I've actually been out here. But just to stand right here and look around, I mean, you have Joey Ramone, Tony Scott, Halyna Hutchins, Mickey Rooney, Cohen in the mausoleum, of course, Ralph Valentino and many others. And coming over, we have Tyrone Power, Marian Davies, Virginia Rapay, and Marian Davies' mausoleum is haunted. Virginia Rapay's grave is still being visited by someone. People hear phantom crying coming from that area. Not much further, Burt Reynolds, and then Jane Mansfield, and right next to her is the so-called woman in black, allegedly one of the many people who have claimed to be the phantom, or the mourner, I should say, who comes and visits Valentino's grave and cries on the anniversary of his death. Moving across the way, you have Vampira, who, of course, let's be honest, And I do love Elvira, but Elvira doesn't have a career without Vampira. There's just so many luminaries and so many ghost stories right in this spot. Again, also, where a lot of things have filmed. We are at a mausoleum that just says the name Dvoras on it. Dovras. It's a name that you don't know, that's not listed, that is responsible for the haunting here, and that is Marian Davies. Apparently this grave is visited by William Randolph Hearst, who was her lover in life, and a guy who went through great lengths to keep their relationship going, even though he was married. He had an apartment on the top of the Examiner building in downtown LA, so that his wife ever showed up, she would have to walk through the entire newsroom to get up to his love nest. And by that time, he would be notified that, hey, let's clear out, my wife's coming. It's kind of an open secret in truth. But apparently William Randolph Hearst, even in death, still misses and loves very much Marian Davies. And his spirit is seen here, right along the lake, at her mausoleum. And of course, right here, I'm at the very back of Hollywood Forever Cemetery now, and there are tons of buildings that line the entire back wall. It's Paramount Studios. Yes, Paramount Pictures is built on what was once cemetery property. And it's said in this area and all along the back area here, people will see what appear to be people walking through the cemetery towards that wall. And yes, they will disappear through the wall, apparently still going back to work at Paramount. These back lots are the most haunted on a very haunted Paramount lot. Objects moving, footsteps when nobody's around, lots going on at Paramount. Stepping past the grave of the wonderful, the great Vampira, we are approaching a tall obelisk that is the memorial for Griffith J. Griffith. Yes, the man's so interesting. They named him twice. He is possibly, and definitely his wife, another victim of the Griffith Park curse. We have the Hollywood sign where Peg Entwistle, and of course her ghost still haunts that area, both as a conscious and residual haunting. But Griffith J. Griffith, who ended up donating all the area of Griffith Park to the city of Los Angeles, was actually kind of a make-good attempt on his part, because he had just tried to kill his wife. He began getting more and more paranoid and thought that his wife and the Pope were conspiring, because he was Protestant and they were both Catholic, to get him. So, hey, in a move of survival, he shot his wife in the face. She lived, but he ended up going to jail for some time and, of course, fell out of public favor. But he ended up donating all of that land to the city of Los Angeles, and that's why we have Griffith Park, the Griffith Observatory, the band shell, so many aspects of Griffith Park. It's specifically laid out by Griffith J. Griffith that is what the land was intended for, and in time, the city actually did fulfill all those ideas. I've done so many different videos on Hollywood Forever Cemetery, so definitely check out my channel. Just search for Hollywood Forever Cemetery within the video search, because there's things that I'm not going to be able to get into here, because it is such a massive place with so much history. But there was that shot where I was looking around at the different famous graves, and I want to show you the opposite view, basically what I was looking at. So as we zoom in, we see Johnny Ramone with his back to us playing his guitar. Back in the day when I first came out here, if you stood on the street here looking at Johnny Ramone, you'd be able to see the Hollywood sign over his shoulder. It's one of my favorite views in all of Los Angeles. The trees have grown and gotten bigger, and you don't have that anymore. Johnny Ramone actually is not buried here. That is just a cenotaph, and there's quite a few of them in this cemetery, memorializing people that are not actually buried there. Another example is right here, this pink granite marker for Hattie McDaniel. Hattie, the first African-American to win an Academy Award for Gone with the Wind. She's actually buried at Angeles Rosedale Cemetery, and I've got a video on Angeles Rosedale coming up. Editing is in progress. Really, really interesting cemetery that is pretty overlooked compared to some of these bigger, more famous ones. This boulder with a mountain climber climbing up it is Tony Scott, the famed director and producer who is responsible for so many great films, especially action films. But I mean, his titles go on and on. A lot of Don Simpson films. So if you think Days of Thunder, Top Gun, a lot of big action films, but even the miniseries Gettysburg. Somebody I didn't mention in the video when I was looking around, because Tony Scott's grave was blocking it, is Chris Cornell. You see all these plants back here. That is Chris Cornell's final resting spot. And over here, you see a number of 8x10 photos, framed images propped up. That is Halyna Hutchins, who, very gifted filmmaker, somebody really starting to come into her own Tragically, her life was cut short when she died in an on-set accident on the film Rust. In the background, actually, you see some of Paramount Studios peeking through, and these are creepy old buildings back here, especially in this area. I believe this is a shop of sorts, set building, most likely. Right here, this is a little blurry because I'm panning, but that's Mickey Rooney back here. And over here is Anne Heche. In the foreground here, we have Anton Yelchin. Again, another young person struck down far too soon. So many people mention him as Chekhov in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies. But for me, he's the kid that took on his neighborhood vampire in the remake of Fright Night. Some people might want to argue that the 80s film was a classic and it didn't need a redo. And I'm not going to argue that because I love the original one. But also, I thought the remake was really good too, with him in it. And of course, one of my favorite actors of all time, David Tennant. The main entrance to this mausoleum is, and that is where Rudolph Valentino is interred, along with June Mathis, who is, I think, not celebrated enough today. She was essentially the first female studio executive, and she was the person that discovered Rudolph Valentino. She has a background as a screenwriter from the earliest days of Hollywood and a story consultant. She absolutely knew how to tell a story. As we pan over a little bit more, we see another film executive, and that is Harry Cohen and his wife in this double sarcophagus. There's a matching double sarcophagus that's exactly the same on the other side. That is Cecil B. DeMille, one of his rivals in life. They took their rivalry to death, trying to one-up each other, even with their own monuments. As we start to talk about filming locations, it is in this area where the funeral scene in the movie The Player is taking place. As that funeral scene finishes up, you see them come across, actually over here on this side of the bridge. On the other side of this bridge, by the way, is where Douglas Fairbanks and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. are buried. The camera pans over as you see everybody returning to their cars. You look down this part of the street right here. I decided to hop over to Google Maps to show you this, looking towards the funeral that is happening over here. And as we look around, we see the pond, Sylvan Lake is actually what it's called. And I'm standing over here on the in this image on the right side of that large structure on the island. Since we're on this side, I can point out that over here we have another cenotaph, and that is for Toto, who was a Chicago-born terrier who was Toto in The Wizard of Oz. He's certainly not buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. However, he was buried in his owner's backyard, which became lost when the 101 freeway was built. Toto's actual burial spot is lost to time. Here we go. Here is the entrance to the Cathedral Mausoleum. This is a location I just found, and that is the TV series The Tick. I loved The Tick. It's just such campy, silly, comic booky fun, well before the Marvel movies came out. Starring Patrick Warburton. What else do you need to say? You might know him as Putty from Seinfeld, or just so many other comedic performances. I know him as Brock Sampson from Venture Brothers, one of my favorite shows of all time. The second episode of this show is filmed at 3 places that are on my top 10 countdown list. I'll talk about that a little bit in the next episode too. Also, this is the room that is used for Rudolph Valentino's memorial services each year. He died on August 23rd, so on the anniversary of his death, people pack this place to over capacity as they celebrate the life of one of the most iconic silent film stars of all time. His importance to Hollywood and film history is absolutely appreciated by those who know. And if you wanted to see Valentino's grave, you would walk down this hallway here, not all that far. I think it's 2 or 3 alcoves in. You would find he and his mentor, June Mathis. Now, I know what you're saying. How are you talking about this location this long, and you haven't mentioned Hollywood Meatcleaver Massacre? Yes, this schlocky slasher film from 1977 was also shot in this building. You can find it on YouTube, terrible quality. I think the only thing you really need to watch is the trailer, which involves Christopher Lee talking to camera about how good this movie is. That is worth watching. Beyond that, I think you can probably pass on Meatcleaver Massacre. So Don Adams from Get Smart, he is up here along the road, directly behind my favorite monument. It's a fairly new one, and that is, of course, Burt Reynolds. Really awesome likeness that they've created. Since I shot this video, right in front of Burt Reynolds is Pee Wee Herman as well, Paul Reubens. So we look in this direction. That general area is where you'll find another cenotaph, not buried there, but Jane Mansfield, along with the woman who claims to be the Lady in Black, so much so that she put that on her grave. And now here, let's get back to filming locations. Here's the bridge that leads to the island, and it was used marvelously in the movie Hot Shots. In the movie Hot Shots, there's a funeral going on, and they do the 21-gun salute, which leads to confusion, thinking that there's a shootout happening. There's a bunch of service people on this bridge that end up diving into the pond. A lot of other mourners dive into the pond. I cannot believe those people did not get paid enough. I would not want to go into this pond. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just owned by ducks and geese and swans. So, it's not going to be the prettiest water to swim around in. And I can't imagine it's very deep either. So very impressed to see the stunts that went into that shot.
God, I love a good funeral.
So we're going to go across the lawn here. And this is the area that is used as Cinespia, where they project movies on the wall here. I was just there last year. I saw Ferris Bueller's Day Off. I have seen Ghostbusters here years and years ago. It's just such a fun event. If you have the opportunity to go early, have a picnic, hang out during sunset, and then watch a film among the graves. And the mausoleums are all lit up nice. It's really a great event. And I love that Ryan Murphy's American Horror Story Hotel, which, by the way, it's a little bit of a struggle to get through. It's bloody for the sake of being bloody. But I love in the first episode of American Horror Story Hotel, Lady Gaga comes out here to find her next victim. She comes out here not to the cemetery. She comes out here because it's movie night, and she finds someone to drain, if you will, at Cinespia's movie night at Hollywood Forever Cemetery. I love seeing that depicted. It's over in this area, probably a little bit further, around this area, almost exactly this area, in the movie Maxxxine, where two bodies are found. The police come over here and they walk underneath some caution tape, some police line tape, to observe a couple of bodies about where we're standing right now. And of course, Toby Huss, the wonderful Toby Huss, is the medical examiner that's examining the bodies. I actually see him walk past this couch monument. Oh, and I did mention earlier in the video that the burial spot of Vampira, I might as well go ahead and show you exactly where she is, because now it's pretty easy to find. Just look for this monument here with the multiple columns, and she is just to the left of this in the shade here. Looking further on, here is the Griffith J. Griffith obelisk that we talk about. I'm just noticing that this image that we're looking at is from March of 2015, which is why it's missing one of my favorite new monuments, which is a couch. Literally, it's a couch covered in dachshunds. Mike Szymanski, he's my kind of people. I love dogs too. Now, two other movies to mention really quickly, because I don't know exactly where in the cemetery this was shot. We have the blaxploitation satire spoof Black Dynamite from 2007 was shot in this area. There was a funeral scene. And also the quintessential LA movie, LA Story, was shot somewhere in this cemetery as well, where Steve Martin bumps into an old friend he hadn't seen in a long time, and also meets a new friend in the funny gravedigger, Rick Moranis.
Finally, a funny gravedigger.
There is just so much to go over, and I have gone over this in other videos. So again, look around. I'll leave some links in the description below, but have to at least mention briefly, this cemetery is patrolled by peacocks. The peacock sanctuary is over here, but they walk the grounds, and they hang out a lot in this area. At least that's where I've seen them a lot lately. There's so many amazing graves here, a lot of newer ones. If you are a Pee Wee Herman fan, as we just talked about, the actor who played Zombie is in this area. And if we're talking 80s comedy, Judy Tenuta is over here as well. There's no way to do one video that captures every interesting person or every famous person who is buried here. So I'm going to have to just allow myself to let it go a little bit. But I can't let it go without mentioning that Judy Garland, the Judy Garland Pavilion, is right over here. And if we come down this way, if you go into this doorway here, which is coming up right against Paramount Studios, these sound stages here. But if you come into this building right here, Bugsy Siegel is here. And that's about it for Hollywood Forever Cemetery. I do want to mention again that if you are a writer, especially a screenwriter, the time is now to submit to Table Read My Screenplay. Go to tablereadmyscreenplay.com. The one that they're taking submissions for right now is for the Cannes Film Festival. And we were out there this past spring, and it was the time of my life. I'd never been there before. It is such a great experience. And I know the writer had just a blast as well as the entire cast. And that's something that can't be spoken highly enough about, is that not only do you get your screenplay, your unproduced screenplay, staged in an exotic location, a place that's both beautiful and interesting and important to the industry, but it's cast with professional actors and then directed by a professional director. So you get to work with that director, you get to work with the actors, you get to really see your screenplay come off the page and into the real world in a meaningful way, and then performed in front of a live audience. There's just so much value for the grand prize winning writer. It's absolutely worth it to just give it a shot, see what happens, see how high you place, and maybe you need some more work, or maybe you're already further along than you thought, but absolutely worth checking out tablereadmyscreenplay.com for up to the top 2 famously haunted filming locations. And again, we're at Mount Rushmore territory here, with amazing places with amazing stories and amazing film history. I will end right now with a short that is listed as the first ever time Hollywood Forever Cemetery was seen on film, which I don't believe this could possibly be true, because we're looking at 1963. Somebody had to have filmed at Hollywood Forever Cemetery much earlier than 1963. If you know, let me know. I would love to share that information. Leave comments, whether you're looking at this on whatsyourghoststory.com or on YouTube. Stop Over in Hollywood, I imagine, was from the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Board, something like that, because the story is a woman comes to LA and hangs out at tourist destinations. And Hollywood Forever Cemetery is definitely a tourist destination. So enjoy this look back at how the cemetery looked in 1963.
Here, as everywhere, when the final curtain rings down, celebrities as well as unknowns rest side by side. Names now carved in marble, perpetuated in a setting of quiet dignity. But strangely, their recorded talents and celluloid will likely be preserved as permanently as their names in marble.